right, welcome everybody to the May board meeting. If you don't mind putting yourself on mute when you join, that'll be great. It is always good to see everyone. We are in our Zoom format again tonight. So hopefully that is working well for everybody to dial in and listen. And we have many things to cover this evening, so we're going to jump right in and get started. And I will quickly just mention our agenda. So we do have a public comment to share, and also just we typically open up for any other public comments. So we'll do that up front. And then the rest of the agenda, we'll just make sure to knock out a quick vote on the April minutes and get that one out of the way. And then we will move along to Patrice's section, where I know that we want to start with the focus on the building and facility update and the bond update specifically, and the associated votes, which is where Richard and Melissa, I know, will chime in for us. So thanks for being here. And then we'll head over to year-end recap, since here we are, just about 1 week left of the school year. I'm sure everybody is in a race to the finish here. So we'll hear a little bit of year-end recap to celebrate this wild, wacky, wonderful year that we have all had. So we'll hear that. We will hear anything else that Patrice would like to update us on. Then we'll head over to finance. I know we have a few more updates than usual, probably on the finance side tonight, as we start talking a little bit about budget. And then anything from a PTO year-end recap with Marnie, and anything else that Brett would like to update us on, or anything else from other committees. And then we can close up. So. Sound like a plan?
Let's go.
Okay. So what we want to start with is the period for public comment. So there are guidelines for those of you who want to review our agenda. It's out there on our board docs site, and you can pull that up to follow along. And we have some guidelines for our public comment. We did have one submitted on email. I do see Jennifer Walker is on the line, so I'm going to just make an open call for public comment. If she or anyone else would like to make a public comment. Otherwise, I can read the one that was submitted. So.
Hi, this is Jennifer Walker. I can read it if you'd like me to.
That would be great.
Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for letting me comment. I wrote a letter to the board today on behalf of my son and I, so I'll just go ahead and read it straight from the letter. It says, "Dear IMHS School Board, my son and I are excited about the new opportunities our future high school building."
Can you make that lower, Aiden?
We have had many discussions over the past few months about what the remodel is going to look like and what special additions will be considered for a public Montessori environment. I just wanted to mention a few of the thoughts that we've come back to several times during those conversations. First, when we look back at the integration of the first high school group into the Lakewood building layout, the high schoolers received a student lounge area that was beautiful, comfortable, and welcoming. Is there a student lounge planned for the remodel location? Next, we feel that there's an opportunity with this move to create a student board to help with designing innovative Montessori-driven student-initiated ideas and programs for the new school, and also consulting on changes that will directly affect the high school students. Another idea that came up is the possibility of using an area in the new design for an after-school drop-in homework club. It would provide a non-virtual space for students to gather for project-based work. And lastly, we were wondering about elective teachers. Will new teachers be hired or transferred for exclusively high school electives at the new school location, or will the students or teachers be traveling for electives? There are many great opportunities ahead of us for IMHS. Thank you for providing a forum where we can ask questions and make suggestions about the exciting future our high school students will have. Thank you very much.
Jennifer, I sent you back a note, just giving you a great way to follow up with the administration to help address those questions. So if there's anything you need beyond that, let us know, but that's going to be your best path to bring in those questions in front of the right folks.
Okay, thank you.
Cool.
Okay, anyone else for public comment? You have 3 minutes to make a public comment. If you'd like to put your name in the chat, then we'll know that you'd like to comment.
All right, going once, going twice. All right, thank you guys.
Okay, how about a quick approval for our April 12th board minutes? Knock that one out. Everybody get a chance to see those.
Kristen shared the April minutes on board docs. If everybody's had a chance to review those, open it up for any questions or comments on the minutes. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make it's okay. I'll make a motion to approve the April board minutes as written.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, AJ second. Any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.
Okay. All right, Patrice, over to you.
Hey, it helps to unmute. So first thing I wanted to do is take a moment. I don't know if Jared is going to be actually showing his face, but I did want to invite Jared Stewart, our new IMHS principal, and just give you guys a chance. There he is. He's on his phone. Thank you, Jared, for joining us. So he wanted to join tonight, and we look forward to his official start date as June 1st. So we're very excited about that. So I realized that one of the things I needed to do was to update for board docs. I realized it's been so crazy. I didn't update it, but it is now updated. So just so you know, if you were looking at the board report through board docs, I have updated the last one. And it's the one that I did send you. So everybody had it in their email as well. So to get started, first thing we want to do, because we want to go ahead and let Melissa and Richard not have to spend their whole evening with us, even though we would be delighted by their company. Melissa Arnold, as you know, represents us as our legal counsel and does an excellent job. And Richard Moreno is our financial advisor through our bond process. And they are going to talk to us about approving a resolution for tonight. And I'll let them release it and let them kind of give you all the input and be able to answer the questions you might have.
So I don't know, Melissa, if you want to go over what the resolution is, and then we can talk about the market conditions and where we are.
Richard, you want to just kind of set us up for where we are in the process?
Sure. Okay. Sorry.
Everyone's kind of up to speed on that, and I think Melissa can take us through the resolution that we need to
Okay,
address.
so this is a long and interesting process. One of the things that we do is that we prepare all the documents. A lot of information is provided. We print out what's called a preliminary limited offering memorandum. And this document basically outlines what the school is, what the purpose of the bond proceeds will be used for. What it tells the whole story. It's a very long document, gives all the risk and all that. So that gets posted to where investors can see it and start looking at the credit. So that was posted back on May 6th. From there, the investors start looking at it, they're reviewing it, and then they start asking questions. Then we take that document and then start pricing the bond. So right before this call, we had a call with the underwriter who has the sales force who's talking to investors and getting a read on the market to give us an indication of what the interest rates are be or what the expectation is to go to the market. The pricing of the bonds occurs on Thursday, and that is when the underwriter goes to the market with what the expected rates are, and then from there the investors put their orders in. So if the rate is too high, you get too many investors. If the rate's too low, you don't get any investors. So you try to do that Goldilocks scenario where you just try to hit it just right. So the way the pricing is coming in is the salespeople at the underwriter are talking to the investors and kind of horse trading back and forth what they think of the credit. So there's what's good is we are getting a lot of questions, a lot of interest from all the big funds, which is your Invesco, Nuveen, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs. They're all asking questions, which is a good sign. We're not in the best of markets right now. The rates have probably just read headline news and kind of thing, what's happening with inflation numbers and all that. So we've had quite a spike in interest rates from when we started. So today's resolution is we putting parameters in place for the board to take a look at that allows that if the market is within those parameters, then the designated individual can basically verbally sign off on the sale of the bonds, which would occur on Thursday. So the order period opens up at 9 a.m. We have a website that you can see the orders coming in. I see for people that don't like stress, don't look at it and wait until the call. But if you want to see that, that's available to take a look at. So that order period is usually open for 2 to 3 hours. When the bonds are sold, then they come back, we have a call. So if we have too many investors, one of the things they can do is lower the rates to see where some of the other investors will drop off, and then you end up selling all the bonds. If they're not getting enough interest, usually they keep the order period open. We have discussions with them to see how much they need to bump up. Hopefully we're not going to have that scenario. So once that is, you have the verbal award and we agree to the pricing of the bonds, then there's what's called a bond purchase agreement that would be ready to go to, and then that basically obligates the underwriter to buy the bonds. And then we go from there to closing. But at that point, basically the bonds are in effect sold. The next 2 weeks are dedicated to processing all the paperwork. I think Brett or Philip alluded to the number of documents you're going to have to sign, which is a lot. So that's kind of where we are today. I was hoping for a much better market, but it's yeah, it just continues to go and until all this global macro effects settle down, and we don't know where we're going to be. But inflation rate is definitely the highest it's been in effect 40 years. So we haven't seen anything like this. Hopefully this will tame out, but where we are today is trying to get the best deal possible at this point.
So the way all of that works with the board that's subject to the sunshine law is that we get enough information, which is what we were just doing with the underwriter, so that we can set a set of parameters so that you all will approve it, subject to the underwriter being able to sell the bonds within a certain range. And if they cannot sell the bonds within that range and these parameters, then we have to come back to you as the board and talk about alternatives or changing the structure of how the bonds are going to be sold. And so I believe, Patrice, did you and Dave have a chance to send the board the updated resolution that Richard had filled in with those parameters?
Oh, no, I didn't. But I did have enough time to text Kristen about setting up a meeting as just in case. So for tomorrow. So let me send that. And Richard, this was it's what Richard sent?
Yeah, around
Yes.
5:20. Yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately, I just want to apologize. It's because the market is moving so rapidly around. We wanted to get basically the closest numbers we could, and we ran the numbers around noon today. but then it's incorporating, just from there, discussions with the underwriter to make sure we were comfortable with those numbers, and that call did not happen until 5:30, so.
Okay.
I think
apologize
it's
for
the
not
email
saying
at
that earlier.
6:20.
Yep, I got it.
Oh, 6:30, yeah.
Yeah, 6:20.
See, I don't even know what time zone I'm in anymore.
Believe me, I get it. So I just sent it. Let me know, board members, if you got it.
And what Richard included in that is the latest sources and uses report. And this is the report that the underwriter prepares that shows all of the ways that the bond funds would be used, and then the sources of the funds, which is the proceeds of the tax exempt and the taxable bonds. And Richard, I just want to note that sources and uses report does not reflect the real estate closing costs or some of the other costs that were sent in today. But I see we have that cushion in the total bonds amount. But in terms of pricing, they should not go into the market with this sources and uses. So I just want to make that point.
Okay, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
fine tune it, because on the numbers that we have from that table, it included some legal and stuff like that, so there is even more cushion. So I think we're going to offset.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's all included. They also have, they also had some expenses from Schutz and Bowen because they used that law firm to help them with the special exception, and they're reimbursed costs, but then there are going to be additional costs that they need to estimate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get that. I think we're okay because of the amount that you had dropped there. So I think the overall total will be good.
I think the overall total in the resolution is, I just want to make sure that the sources and uses gets updated.
Yeah.
And so there are two documents. One is a PDF document that's the sources and uses I was just referring to. And the other one is a draft resolution. And this is for Innovation Montessori, Inc. And Patrice, is it possible to share the screen so we can all look at that? Or is
actually,
it easier for everyone to look at it on their own? What would you suggest?
well, I
share
would
it.
suggest, Kristen, you want to let Melissa give her access to share her screen?
Yeah, you should have that access now. And I did receive the email too, so.
Right. See if I can do this.
If not, I can share it. Let me know.
You may want to. I have a lot of things up on my screen right now.
See that?
Yes, that's great. So this is the draft resolution. And let me tell you a little bit about it. There are two resolutions for the board tonight. One is for Innovation Montessori, Inc., and the other one will be for Innovation Montessori High School, Ocoee, Inc. And this particular resolution starts out with, there are a bunch of whereas clauses, but the overall description of it is that this is telling the story of the transaction. This is talking about the relationship that this corporation has to IMO CASA as its sole member. It talks about how you all as a board decided to hire an underwriter and the structure of the bonds, the decision to purchase the properties, and ultimately setting up the structure where Innovation Montessori will own the two properties and then lease them, a portion to IMO CASA and the high school campus to Innovation Montessori High School, Ocoee, Inc. Now, if you scroll down after all of that story about the transaction in the whereas clauses, you'll get to, you'll get to the now therefore. That's what we're looking for right now. Yeah, it just keeps going. Here we go. Now therefore, and you see the yellow. The yellow highlights were that was the area that Patrice and Dave and Philip and Brett and and Richard and I were speaking to the underwriters about. What should these parameters be that is still an affordable transaction for the school, but gives some cushion around where the underwriters think the market will go. And the number here, I'm just double checking that this is what, and Richard, it shows the 28.5 million as a maximum. So the actual amount may be lower, as Richard and I were just discussing. The A bonds, which are the tax exempt bonds, the maximum interest rate would be at that 5.65. And in the preliminary numbers, the highest number they had was 5.625. Right, Richard. So that's where that A, the A bonds at the 5.65 would give a little cushion there. And then the B bonds, which are the shorter taxable bonds, would not exceed 5.25%. The maturity, we're talking about 35-year bonds as the maturity, and we put 36 because sometimes it's 35 and a few months, and so that's why 36 is in this resolution. And then finally, that maximum annual debt service, the net debt service, is important for you all, and we have that capped at 1.9, because if you look at that PDF, you'll see that that is the highest amount with the projection. Do you all have any questions about this resolution and these parameters?
So basically, Melissa, this is authorizing me and or Philip to execute this agreement after the pricing comes in, to execute the transaction, as long as it's within these parameters. If it comes in outside of these parameters, then we would need to reconvene the board and talk about other potential options. Which
Exactly.
Richard's guaranteeing is not going to happen.
Absolutely. Yes.
Stone cold.
Yeah, he's not smiling.
Okay. Questions? Comments? Discussion? Concerns? Does this make sense to you guys, Kristen, Stacy, AJ?
Yeah, seems like a reasonable, giving the parameters.
One thing I do notice here, I want to just ask Richard a quick question. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Richard. You had added in arbitrage yield in parentheses, and I noticed that in the 2056, 52, and 42, there's a small discount. So I think the arbitrage yield, I may have this backwards because you're the finance guy, but it looks like it goes up with the yield to 5.67.
Yeah, so I was looking at the total arbitrage yield, which is page 3.
Got it.
Yeah, because you have some bonds that are more and then some that are less. So the total of the transaction.
Okay, so let's do a quick adjustment here. I want to make sure that we're using the same terms so that bond counsel agrees. If we can pull up that page 3 on the PDF, we might want to adjust this language just a bit to make sure.
You go back. I opened all these things too. So.
Or Melissa, if you want to just take out the arbitrage yield and go with the interest rate of 5.7, then that's fine. We could just keep
But I
it
think it's
consistent.
it's on page 3, but it says if you look at the bottom corner where it says page 3.
This one?
Nope, keep going. That's what it says it on the PDF document
Right
there.
there. So that's your arbitrage yield. That's actually your true interest rate is your arbitrage yield. That's if you're going to take an amortization, let's see if people remember your HP 12C. If you're to get to that's the number you would use.
Okay, so it's that exact language. So this is fine. We can refer them back. I just want to make sure that we had we're using a term that they used on the sources and uses.
Yeah, that's the one I always look at, Melissa. That's like the bottom line after all this stuff.
All right, so we could stay at that 5.65 because the projected arbitrage yield is that 5.56, wasn't it?
5.54 on the,
5.54.
yeah.
Well, it's a not to exceed number. So
Yeah.
that's, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So it gives some cushion.
Yep.
So then we'll take a call on Thursday. You said, Richard, that we'll actually get the final pricing here of the net amount, the
Yeah,
rates and all
ideally
that.
that call should happen around noon. If everything goes to plan, we'll have another call with the underwriters tomorrow to see how the market is doing. Yeah, we'll see that, and then during the morning, we'll see all the trading. Whoever wants to see it, let me know, and we can. I like Patrice shaking your
I
head. Just
know.
just wait around for the good news. You don't need to
Tell me
go
when
to
it's done.
surgery.
Oh,
You don't want to
yeah.
see the sausage making.
I should, just because it's, yeah, but no, probably not.
So
So
what,
then
what do we
just
need to
again,
vote on? Sorry, I was just clarifying what we specifically need to vote on.
well, before you do that, and I would just also want to make sure we're all clear that the reason for a possible meeting, which Kristen, thank you for posting that, because we need to have a 24-hour notice, would be, Richard, if for some reason the market tomorrow just gives us other reason to be concerned, that's when we would come back tomorrow.
I would say on Thursday. So because
So
what we
it's
do
not
is
going to be a need to come back tomorrow at all, you think? I thought that
Thursday
the
is when we need
underwriters,
to. I thought it was Thursday. Once we have that call on Thursday, and you give us either the good or bad news. If it's good news,
exactly. So I think at
Bad
this
news, and
point,
we
I
need
think
to
we're okay
reconvene
with
the
the.
board.
Sorry. Yeah, I think right now we're okay with the parameters we have, Patrice. So what you could do is schedule one for around midday on Thursday, because the order period would stay open, and then we need to come back to the board if we're outside those parameters.
so there would be, so Kristen, change what I said to you. So then you're saying,
Okay.
Richard, it'd be good idea to try to schedule a board meeting for noon on Thursday?
Yeah, if we need to.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully we won't have to. We come back to the board with very good news. So.
Okay.
Or are
You
we
need the full
blocking off
board,
noon
or
on
you-
Thursday? Because that would be helpful for us.
All right, that's what I'm saying, block off
Okay.
noon for Thursday, but not
Okay.
tomorrow. I apologize. I thought it was for tomorrow afternoon, but I guess we don't have to do that.
I think, Patrice, that was something I was originally proposing before we had a further discussion about how confident they were about
Gotcha.
the projection.
Okay,
I thought
okay.
maybe once they talk to the folks in the market tomorrow, we might want to have the discussion tomorrow night, but
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have a discussion tomorrow night, but I don't want to predict anything. I mean, it's,
But it's not, it doesn't need to be a board meeting.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so tomorrow, it doesn't need to be a board meeting. It just needs to be those of us who can will participate and those who can't will not, can listen but not participate.
correct.
Okay.
So I don't know how you want to handle the two resolutions and how you normally handle the matters for IM versus the high school. But there is another resolution that relates to the high school and its involvement in this transaction as the tenant and as an obligated group member.
Now, which document is that? Got a whole bunch from you guys today. You sent, there's the IMO Casa lease, the IMHS lease. Is it one of those, or this is the IMHS approving resolution?
Exactly.
I don't think I even saw that. So thank you for calling that out.
Now, that didn't need to get updated after the pricing conversation we had today.
Exactly. That's why it came in yesterday. It came in beforehand.
Got it. All right, so I will pull that one up too, just to make sure if you want to talk us through this one real quick.
So similar to the other resolution, it begins with the story of the transaction from the perspective of the high school. And then as you scroll down, you'll get to the now therefore, which is what the corporation is approving. And you've passed it. So come on back to the, yep. And that is talking about becoming a member of the obligated group along with the other two parties that would be a subject of the other resolution. This post-issuance compliance policy, which I've been discussing with Patrice and Dave, which governs the way that the facility is operated and the restrictions once it's financed with the proceeds of bonds. And then it gives the authority for Brett and Philip, or if they're not available, other board members to sign the documents on behalf of the high school.
And since IMO CASA is already a sub-member of IM Inc., that one's cared for. This just makes IMHS another obligated party to this transaction and will become a.
Right. The reason there's a separate resolution is that it's a separate corporation and you all are a separate board. IMO CASA is actually, it's a member managed LLC and the member is the board of Innovation Montessori. So that's why you all could have that in one resolution on behalf of IM and IMO CASA.
So we're gonna vote and approve the resolution with the bond parameters for us to go execute that, and then we're gonna vote and approve this one as making IMHS a obligated party to the transaction.
Exactly.
Cool. All right. Questions? Philip, anything we need to add?
I don't think so. I think we've covered the bulk of the details.
AJ or Kristen or Stacy, if none of this makes sense, don't feel bad because it's taken weeks and months of going through this with Richard and team to get our heads around this, and for you guys to figure it out in 10 minutes is, that's not easy to do. So questions if you have them. If not, we can move to take a motion on this and close down the conversation.
I don't have any questions. It certainly seems very detailed out, so I'm good.
Okay.
Same. I'm good.
Okay. Why don't I, since I have this one open, I will entertain a motion here to approve the resolution for IMHS to become an obligated member. Is that the best way to say this, Melissa?
You could, I would say approve the resolution as drafted.
As drafted for Innovation Montessori High School, Ocoee Inc. Okay.
I will make a motion to approve the motion as drafted for IMHS Inc. or approval. That didn't make any sense. For the
Resolution.
The resolution, thank you, for IMHS.
Okay. A motion, we have a second.
With the piece about becoming an obligated member, we don't need to state that because it's already in the resolution. We're just approving the resolution for IM.
Exactly. It covers more topics than that. So I'd rather you not have that as part of the motion.
All right, so we've got a motion to approve the resolution. We have a second.
Second.
All right, AJ makes a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now we will move to the next resolution. I'm just gonna pull that back up. This is our borrowers approving resolution, right? Sure I got the title of that right. This is our borrowers approving resolution. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution as presented for Innovation Montessori Inc.?
I will make I'll make a motion to approve the borrowers approving resolution as drafted.
Okay, I have a motion. We take a second.
Borrowers approving resolution.
Correct.
Thanks.
Do I have a
Second,
second?
I will second.
Thank you. AJ seconds. Any other questions, comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion's carry.
Yay.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Oh,
So then Melissa, just my one question to you is that, I don't know why, I still can't find that IMHS one, but we are going to, Brett's gonna sign it. He has to print it in triplicates, I believe is what the email said. Both documents to be signed, correct?
So you're referring to, there are two documents that Katie sent, and one is the bond purchase agreement. And
Right.
one is a certificate that has a regulatory number associated with it that I'm not going to. 15C dash.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
So there-
both of them are related
Too many
to the-
documents.
That's
And
right.
one thing I will tell both of you, since Melissa, you do such an incredible job, and Richard, you do too. One of the things that I think would be helpful is to next time you work with the principal, give them the basic organization of file folders. Because I'm going to tell you, my files are a mess with all these documents because, you know, I'm learning along the way what category they should belong to. So yes, so anyway, just that's the only thing I would add to this whole process. But again, so those things do have to be signed by Brett tonight, correct? But that's not a vote.
That's right. So what has happened is those two documents are what we'll need to produce for pricing. And
Right.
so Brett is signing them, and those are going to be held in escrow. And to make sure that the pricing fits the parameters. If the pricing fits the parameters, then those signature pages will be released. So that's why we have
Got it.
Do I need to sign either one of those resolutions that we just approved
Yes.
tonight?
You need to sign those. You just don't need to sign them in triplicate. So
These two that Katie sent, where is it? Oh, I had it open here. 347. What is this? This is Rule 15C2-12 certificate,
yes,
Yes.
that one.
and then the bond purchase agreement.
Yes,
Those need to be signed in triplicate.
right. And if you'll
And then-
scan one of them to us, and we would hold that in escrow.
And then the other, my understanding is the other, all three need to be sent overnight to our underwriters in Tampa. That was the other part of her email. Brett, if
And
you-
that does not need to be sent overnight tonight's night.
Oh, no, I know that. I already clarified that with Katie. I said, no,
Okay.
I mean, you know, overnight, meaning tomorrow morning. So Brett, if you can get those to me tonight, then I will make sure that tomorrow we overnight them to the underwriters in Tampa.
Okay, so do I need to print them and sign them, or can I sign them electronically?
No, you got to print them and sign them. That was part of the email thread with Katie, is she said that it has to be, and preferably in blue. Is that correct, Melissa? I think it was, Brett, if you look at the entire thread, I think she says it needs to be done in blue.
My
ink.
blue pen.
Yeah,
And then I can scan them and send them to you though?
yep.
And then
And
the other
all
two
three-
resolutions that we approved, I will sign those as well, but in single form and get those to you tonight.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I'll make sure they go in the right digital folders. They're all saved. I just wouldn't want anybody trying to figure out where is, no, they're somewhat organized.
do I
So
need to,
at the end of all of this, bond counsel will send out what's called the transcript. And that will be an electronic copy of all of the documents in the order of the closing index. So you're going to have all of the final signed versions of all of the documents, all organized with an index at the end.
Thank you. I needed to hear that. That makes me feel
Yeah.
better.
They'll send a CD or a flash drive, and then usually I put it into my file. So if you want a Dropbox link to it, I'll do that also.
Thank you. Okay. Brett, are you good?
I think so.
Okay, so then the next time Melissa and Richard, we may be speaking to you is noon on Thursday. I may take a peek at this, what is it called? Game on or?
Game day. Game day.
You
Just for
know,
Wall Street people to name these things, right? You
I
know,
know.
it's like your livelihood, all your money, they call it a game, you know.
I
game day.
know, I thought, okay. And then just to clarify, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating this for everybody, we may not have to meet on Thursday as a board, Thursday afternoon, but we may be meeting like with the IMO group.
I think we need to be, we need to have a placeholder for a board around noon or 1
Right,
o'clock.
just in case, but it's not a
But the-
debt.
But the IMO group would definitely be
Right.
meeting. That's almost the highlight. You get to hear the underwriter, the gentleman, Dave, and then he talks his talk, right? He gives all the terminology and the back and forth and the lingo.
I know.
It's great.
No,
Okay, so
no, I hear
basically,
you.
if our
It's like an
pricing-
auctioneer to me. It's like, yeah, it's 5.2% and this yield nothing. It's just fast talker.
Yeah,
If the
yeah. So
pricing comes
hopefully,
inside, if the pricing comes in inside of the range, then we wouldn't need anything from the full board. Really, we're just getting the report back and moving forward. If that pricing doesn't come in, if it comes in outside of the range that we have, then we would need a full board because we would need to approve moving forward with the higher prices.
yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
Okay.
All right, I think we're good.
All
Thank
right,
you, Melissa and Richard. Appreciate you guys.
Richard, really appreciate you.
Thank
all
you.
right, thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Have a good night.
I don't know how I follow up with that, but I will follow up. I do want to just make sure, because one of the things that I find, as we often, say, it's important just to kind of reiterate things, and repeat them so people understand. Again, this whole bond process is wrapping up our Fuller's Cross property off of Fuller's Cross. It is going to be bringing in our drive line and soccer field. I will tell you the update on that process may be looking that the full drive line may not be complete by school. So Brett, I will tell you that's something, but I'm still confident we'll be able to work through our drive line because we won't have high school here next year. And then who knows, City of Ocoee may try to encourage them to move faster, but we are excited that in the fall, we will have the full drive line complete and the soccer field complete. So that's going to be very exciting. Our purchase of the IMHS building on Silver Star, and it was wonderful to have parents come in onto the property last week. I think it was last week. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. And so that's going to be part of this bond process. And then on the main campus, we will complete the purchase of our beautiful 18 acres, because as we've discussed before, we've been leasing that through Building Hope. And so part of this purchase is also going to allow us to do some drainage repair that is needed on the main campus in the back where the retention pond is. And we are also going to have a basketball court where the portables are. So that's going to be really exciting. And we're looking forward to that getting all wrapped up into this bond process. If everything goes the way we are expecting it to go, we will have a closing on June 1st. And renovations for the IMHS building, the Fuller's Cross property, all that can then get started as of June 2nd. Any questions about that? Okay, so moving along, one of the things that Kristen had mentioned and as a good idea to give just a wrap up of the year. I know we don't have a lot of people on tonight, but I know that we're recording this. So I'm going to basically just read through most of this wrap up. One of the things that Kathy and I want to do next week, we haven't decided if it should be a newsletter or an attachment to the newsletter, but we thought it might be nice to also put this out on Parent Square. And we might, as people think of other things, we may add to it. But as all of us know, as we think back into last August, the year started with, unfortunately, rising COVID numbers. While we had all been anticipating that we were not going to have to be so focused on COVID in the beginning of the year, we quickly realized that it was going to be all about COVID. Unfortunately, those numbers stayed pretty high, and we had a lot of, probably the biggest thing, while we certainly understand that the information came in very quickly that people were not getting as sick. Unfortunately, we know there's still, unfortunately, 1 million people who have died in this pandemic. One of the things that staff had problems with, as well as, you know, every school had problems with, and that is just keeping staff. Because we had so many people that were getting sick. So the community really worked with us, and we really appreciate that. Really respecting, you know, we try to really build a healthy atmosphere so that we could keep our numbers down as much as possible. Of course, then when we were coming into November and December and we were looking forward to the breaks, Omicron hit. And so that from, if you think about it, from August to February, we did pay a heavy toll just managing staff absences and all the things that were COVID. While at the same time, another impact of COVID that we dealt with this year was in the large part, just the dysregulation of children and adolescents. One of the things that I always find interesting, I'll say to my husband, because any of us are listening to any of the national news networks, you hear often just the plague that has been upon schools this year and social emotional learning and mental health needs of children and adolescents. And certainly we haven't, we've had to support a lot of students through those challenges. We do feel like things are starting to subside, but we know that there is a large need overall, and it continues. We did have an upside that as spring break approached, you know, the numbers have subsided. We recognize that the numbers, while they have subsided, and certainly people who are getting sick, because so many people in our community do have the vaccine, they're not getting as sick as they could have, while at the same time, we also really appreciate, and I just want to really put out a call again, to really ask people to keep their sick children home, because there have been some rumors that people are relaxing and determining that they're sending their children to school. We really need to keep our staff at school, in school, working. And so anything you can do to protect that, that's just, you know, some basic 101 that we always say every year. Another thing that we, as things did subside, I think we all saw that we successfully ran a robust after-school program. We look forward to that growing next year. We also saw our athletic program start really to grow. Coach Naya and Coach Brandon really made a big deal and of our basketball team and middle school basketball team. And they have really built this program out so that we have a lot of opportunities for students next year for middle school and for high school. And I think sixth graders are included in that. So the students themselves have been signing up for different teams. They have uniforms that they're planning. So that's been really exciting. We also had a very successful after-school tutoring program that was modeled on our evidence-based best practices. This summer, we look forward to kind of digging into the academic progress that the students made. We'll look at their state testing as well as testing that we give for MAP, in the spring to just look back on the gains that students made academically. We also cannot forget, we completed 2 international accreditations, one from Cognia and one from the International Montessori Council. With the Cognia accreditation comes the ability to join the Florida High School Athletic Association, among other things, for both IMO and IMHS. Then, as we just talked about, we are finishing out the bond process. Who would have thought in the fall, when we were very nervous about what was going to happen, because between the supply chain problems that everybody was having and construction costs just, soaring, we were really concerned. And then the property came available off of Silver Star, and here we are, just really, I don't even know if it's been 6 months. It's been just right around 6 months, and here we are really finalizing on a great opportunity for the entire property. So I won't go into those details because I've already shared those previously, but we are just thrilled that this is all coming to a quick head in the next, as we know, in the next day or two, and we look forward to that June 1st closing. On top of this, we also had our administration hires, and I introduced Jared Stewart as our new principal for IMHS. He was, we had about 100 candidates that, and he rose to the top, and we look forward to him beginning on June 1st. We don't also want to forget that we also promoted Lachey Copeland, who was our IMO dean, and she is now going to be the assistant principal for IMHS as of June 1st as well. And then in support of the plan to build an administration team with the time and focus to attend to instructional leadership, we've added 2 assistant principals to IMO to support Kathy Tobin, who's the principal, and Leanna Mubarak, who's also the assistant principal. We've promoted Eileen Costello and Nicole Tischer to assistant principal, and we kind of announced them at the board last month. The dean position will be taken on across the 3 assistant principal positions. We also want to just do a call out, and we just can't appreciate, we want to be able to appreciate the board's support of our CGMS adolescent training program. Our first cohort of teachers for middle and high school are actually graduating this summer. I just can't say enough about how this is, again, has been equivalent to a master's degree that they have, done during COVID. Just can't say enough about that team and just how much they have gained. They have just gained. They talk about it for all the work that it's been. They are just really appreciative. And we look forward that in October of 2022, we will be adding our second cohort of middle and high school teachers. So that, again, will be just thrilling. And then finally, our first graduating class. Just can't say enough about these exceptional young adults, have impressed us all immensely. My big takeaway from these students who are adults at this point is just the articulation of soft skills that all of us on this board would recognize as the professional skills sought after by organizations. Their ability to collaborate, their ability to just hold themselves and know who they are. Again, I've said a lot about them before, but I just want to call it out again, that both Cognia and IMC just really played, just offered a lot of compliments to our adolescents. And so I'm really excited that the board will be there on Friday. And I listed a bunch of reminders for you about what that program will look like. And we're just really thrilled that we get to see this happen this year. So I'm going to take a breath and just ask, are there any questions right now?
So maybe if there's questions, but I certainly would like to make a couple comments. The things that you just kind of rattled off of your list there, Patrice, in any given year, if we just did one of those things, it would have been a tremendous accomplishment.
Mhm.
I think I said something to you guys earlier about the bond and understanding that in 10 minutes. That process that we're going through, not just the bond process, but also the months and frankly years at this point of the deliberations around the building and the real estate transactions and the renovations and all the work with the construction companies and the architects. That whole building process has just been immense. The fact that you pulled off 2 major accreditations and 1 school year essentially in parallel is just it's incredible accomplishments, right? And those things don't happen by accident. They happen because we have tremendously talented leadership at the top of the school. And Patrice, it starts with your leadership, and you set the tone for the leadership team below you and the staff that works and across this whole organization. And I can't personally thank you guys enough for all the things that you have done to take, a challenging school year, frankly, last couple of years, and just really have this amazing list of accomplishments that you were just able to kind of, quickly run through it in 5 minutes. Those are massive, folks. And we are very fortunate to have you and Kathy and Liana and everybody, Nicole, Eileen. We're excited to have Jared joining us. We have a tremendously talented leadership team at the school, and you guys just make this really easy for us as a board to do what we need to do. And I just want to say thank you for all that you guys have done. These are major accomplishments, and again, these things don't happen by accident. Kudos to you guys.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You're gonna get me teary-eyed. I, always say, and I appreciate it, I always say too, that we're really fortunate. And again, it was called out several times that our board was very impressive, with Cognia as well as with IMC, and that's for a reason. And of course, Kathy and I know that we can't even begin to even think about doing what we do without the staff that we have. So thank you. I appreciate that. Going forward, I do want to just say too that we did have some updates that I wanted to give you for some funding that's taken place. And I know you have it on your board report, so I'll just basically just just ask you if you have any questions, just for our public to know that we do have the 1 mil local ad valorem that's going to be up for a renewal vote on August. And one of the things that I'll be doing, and Kathy and I will be doing, and Jared, is really pushing out for our community to really recognize how much this really supports our school, and how OCPS, much like some districts, they have from the very beginning included charter schools in this 1 mil local ad valorem. And so we just really will be posting some information about that as we get closer, and just wanting to make sure people, like, if you don't have a reason to vote in an election like in August, that's one reason to get out and vote, is let's get this 1 mil local ad valorem passed again. One of the other things that I will say too, that was a great surprise, is that what has already been approved, well, it hasn't been signed by the governor yet, but the TSIA, which I know is Dave's nemesis, and the way that the accountability for this money, but it's called the Teacher Salary Increase Allocation, that began a couple years ago. So typically it's funded at about 50 million for OCPS. This year it's scheduled to be 250 million. So that's doing some basic math, that's 5 times more money. And so I do want to call that out because that's quite significant. Since we have already done a good job with all of our teachers already beginning teacher salary, we've already met the minimum requirement of 47,500. what Orange County has done is they said, based on what their legal department has determined, then we're going to be able to use our proportion of this money for additional COLA, cost of living, as well as for performance pay. We're not going to be able to just across the board give teachers more money. The state, they said that state is still going to require us to use the regs, how the regs have decided, which is either going to be a COLA or performance pay. But what I will say to you, it is this year's, this TSIA is meant to reduce the compression of salaries. And just real basic, when the governor came up with this idea of starting everyone at 47.5, which is great, you know, we certainly need this. What became a concern is that while beginning teachers were getting a really good bump in what they would be earning, or, you know, and making sure they're all there, the teachers who've been here in the trenches for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, did not see anywhere near the same kind of increase. So this is their commitment. This is the legislation commitment to really maintain that salary increase. So I'm sure there's going to be more details. I will tell the board this, that was something that got added to our numbers and our projections for the bond market right now. And it's going to be added as a supplement to what goes out during this marketing time. And what that does is that just overall produces a better bottom line for us. So we're excited. That all just happened on Thursday and Friday, and Richard and a few people confirmed it for me so that we could add that into this mix as well.
Do we have to follow what OCPS does for it? Or are we free to put that where we see fit based on years of service or performance pay, right? Like you're free to allocate that as you choose to, correctly, or?
No. So what we're free to do is follow the state regs. So the state has told schools you can only give increases to teachers either through a cost of living or through performance pay. Now, we don't have to use whatever amounts that Orange County does. We're going to be able to use our amount. And that will be something we'll bring up in the finance committee, because you know, one of the things that, you know, even some bond investors that we talked to today about this additional money that has come in, you know, they wanted to know right away, well, is this going to be every year? Well, this is what I said, but this is what I said. I've been in Florida a long time and have been in education a long time. And what I've never seen, I have never seen them throw this amount of money at something and then take it away. Now, it may eventually disappear, but I find what happens, because it's political, they wait until the memory has worn off. And they wait until other things have kind of filtered in and supplied that money. Like some on here may remember when they used to pay for reading coaches, and they had all sorts of different ways in which they paid extra money into schools. So I feel fairly confident in the next, you know, there always can be drastic things that happen, but I feel fairly confident that it will stay. Any other questions? I didn't want to steal Philip's thunder, but I did want to add that. Well, thank you again. And thank you again for your support, because it really has ended a great year. So thank you.
Great wrap up. Thank you. So much to celebrate. Yay. And then more for the graduation Friday. So good. All right, Philip. What shall we cover tonight for finance?
Let's cover, because I know you're all on the edge of your seats, just wanting more details on financials, since we just spent so long on bonds and all of that. But we are in budget season, and I don't want to go through May without giving you at least some sort of update on it. So I'm going to give you a really high preliminary overview for April, and that is no big surprises for the month. School financials are moving forward decently well, running a little bit under where we budgeted for the month of April. IMO is running better for the year, according to bottom line numbers, and IMHS is running a little worse for the year. So I'm glossing over those so quickly so I can get into some of the highlights on the budget side of things, to at least give you guys an awareness of some of the details of where we are. Now, I will also say I'm thrilled that Melissa and Richard were able to be here and give you all very detailed updates on the bond stuff, because I was not wanting to do that. It's been good learning and nice to be a part of the experience, but there's knowing how to express the specific nuance of it. As Patrice said, you know, I totally can relate to the file folder structures. And like, and I haven't even been trying to save all of those. I'm like, just keeping up with the 50 emails alone today was rather daunting. So, all right, overall, what I'm going to do for the budgets as a whole, I've kind of consolidated my notes for our three organizations, CASA, IMO, and IMHS, to look for what are some of the large drivers for next year's budget. And that's what I want to make sure you guys have the most awareness to. As Patrice mentioned, we'll have our finance committee meeting tomorrow morning. We'll touch on budget items a little bit deeper in there. As with years past, Dave and the other administrators have taken deeper and deeper roles in driving the budget every year, allowing the board to be further and further removed from it. And I think that's part of a healthy organization. So I haven't pushed our way in, but I do want to keep you guys aware of what are those things that are driving and give you an opportunity to express. So with that, large drivers in next year's budget, staffing changes is one of them that's coming in. So we're increasing administrative roles to support the two campuses. None of this will come as a surprise to you, but it's worth calling out, you know, from a financial side, obviously that comes in. We're also increasing administrative roles to set up our organization for long-term success. That's my way of nicely pointing out, you know, Patrice is retiring, and we do want to make sure we have other leaders in place that have had time to gain that experience so our organization can continue on. And all of that is included in part of what Patrice was just updating you on with all of our new assistant principals, new principals, all that lineup is in there, but obviously those are the higher cost positions inside of our organization. So having—
To be clear, she's staying for another school year. It's not she's not retiring today.
That is correct, Brett. Yes, she's staying with us for another school year, but
Maybe
we do
two
want them
more.
in place for the—
She hasn't figured that out yet.
I thought we were pushing to get her to, you know, to settle onto the board so we still get to keep some of her insight around, just not her day-to-day operations, you know. So that is one of the large drivers that's coming in. Another factor that's coming in as a big player is the switch to two campuses. So things that come in that just go up substantially as a result of two campuses, things like internet and phones, our administration costs, along with the staffing pieces we were just talking about. Our student resource officer requires two. That is a rather large single item. The custodial and facilities, we currently have just a partial custodian covering IMHS. Now we are getting an increase in student count, so you know that helps offset, but that is another cost. And utilities as a whole, you know, our electric and things, built a whole second building, might not have made that much difference, but it is something that's a increasing aspect that's coming. Another one that is changing is financing charges and rent. This one has some, this looks different. Part of it might just be which line it hits on our expense statement, and the dollars themselves won't change a whole lot, although they're a little bit weird for the next 2 to 3 years. Next year, we actually have very low costs towards our bonds that we're getting. Basically, we're not even paying interest only for the first year, then we are paying interest only for the year or two. And then we'll be moving into the full cost of it. This allows us to get our high school completely up and running. And another big factor that comes in is increasing our cash reserve. While we felt that we were somewhat okay from a cash reserve side, and we liked that we were better than what we had been before, we've heard a lot of feedback on the financial sectors where they all would like us to have millions of dollars sitting in the bank. And actually, quite frankly, they would like us to have millions of dollars sitting in the bank to give us at a minimum a 60 to 90 day cash reserve supply, so we could get no dollars from the state and continue operating for that 60 to 90 day window. So that is one of those pieces that comes in to there. That also be changing from what we currently call it rent or some debt service, but it'll all be changing over to another one. And actually this one, Dave and I just hit on this week, and I don't know if I've had a chance to put this in your awareness, Patrice, is depreciation charges. It just hit me that we were buying $25 million in fixed assets, and we're going to have to depreciate that. It'll just show up on our financials. It'll probably come in to influence a little bit of the way that we talk. It'll be something we'll have to, it won't really change much on how we actually operate, but that bottom line number will be a bit different, right? If we add on just a nice round number that's somewhere in the $500,000 in expense of depreciation every year. That's a non-cash expense, but does drive impact to our bottom line number. And we need an awareness of it that we will, in the long run, have to repair the things that are getting old, right? This will be something that Dave, myself, Finance Committee, and our auditor will have to discuss a bit more and how we want to capitalize that and put those on the books. Yeah, we did get confirmation from Richard and all. It doesn't really change anything from our bond, but it is more of an accounting aspect. FEFP revenue, this one, I have, the way I jotted my notes down, we have it on informed rumor mill that we'll see this at a 5% increase. Chris touched on this too. You know, Richard has confirmed that we're expecting a 5% increase for FEFP. However, as we've seen in years past, we really don't get solid details on that until even oftentimes like a September, sometimes even as late as October. So hopefully we'll see that earlier. I know by August or something, but so we're moving forward with the 5% in those numbers, but that is something that we're having to just go with that. We also are keeping a close eye on staffing wages with all of these moving parts, and all this conversation on inflation. We've stuck with our usual increase of 2%, which might be something actually is in our finance committee to see where's perhaps some of our flexibility on this. I have some concerns that that number is coming in low for the year ahead. How do we adjust for that? How do we handle that? One of our largest expense on our books is always our staff, and that is one way that it helps to mitigate our costs, but at the same time, we also know that their home costs are going up. So I'm quite excited to hear today that there is more dollars coming in from the teacher salary increase adjustment. I'm also a bit annoyed to hear that it's coming from the TSIA, because if you all don't remember hearing about it every month, those were the dollars that just kept not coming in, and we didn't actually get them until February. So to increase that as part of our revenue that's coming in, there's a level of fingers crossed. I like more money. I always like money in any way it comes to us, but I like it when the money comes to us, not when it's promised and then sit there waiting for months. So that's a factor that's going to be in consideration for just things that we can figure out how that works. I expect once Patrice, Dave, and I have a chance to not be thinking exclusively about bonds, we're going to be having more conversation on this subject before we have our final budget, what that'll actually look like. And let me see. Overall, let's see. Actually, I just realized I just made it to the end of my notes. Well, no, I have a few more. Any questions so far on those high-level assumptions? I've got a few notes on campus-specific.
No.
Our gripping, exciting financial stuff, right? At least a little bit more familiar than the bond things. But another one, the CASA specific, we are budgeting in about a 3% increase to tuition on there after no increase last year. I won't spend more time on that because I don't want it to be the pronouncement came out from the board meeting. So I'll let Patrice and team communicate accordingly as we figure that out. But that is one area for an increase. And I guess just to lump all the news that can get the community, going, what's happening? We also are budgeting in an increase to our student supply fee, continuing with the pattern that we've done for multiple of the last several years, where we raise it every other year. So this would be projecting a $10 increase for this dollars. That would be for both IMO and IMHS. Another factor, this one I probably should have put up above, we will, as a result of the bond and the obligated group relationship of it, we are going to be producing, we'll have audit requirements on consolidated financials. This is actually one that I kind of considered a positive, because it means that we will be required to produce financials that have our whole umbrella, IMO, CASA, and IMHS, bundled into one financial statement. So we'll actually be able to see those put together. I imagine it'll put a little bit more work on Dave and team, or almost exclusively Dave, but it also will, I think once we get the routine of it going, it shouldn't be too hard in that space. So those will then also be required to be audited. So it'll be a consolidated piece. And another item, this one's instructional related and related to the ESSER grant. We will see, we're going to spend about $300,000 on tutoring costs. It was one that David noted, and I was like, oh, that's actually it's a nice one to see, that we're continuing to see those grant money come in, help support us on some needed things that we have. And that covers, that is my summary highlights of something that I know Dave spends many hours on, and he's been doing, let me just give a shout out to him for his continued support of Patrice, the bond group, the number of documents and files and questions, and while also keeping up on the monthly financials, moving forward on budget, which in a normal year, the budget is a daunting process anyways, and why not throw in getting a bond and doing totally new stuff? And all these important people want, can you produce this numbers or those numbers, or get us an updated schedule by, like, is end of day today too late? And this is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not really sure how much time falls into that window, but so thank you, Dave, for all of your hard work. It's quite impressive and very much appreciated. Any questions on anything? Go ahead, Dave. You want to
Thank you, Philip. Appreciate it.
One question, Philip. How does with the financing and obviously the school and everything for next year, how does the surplus look from a projection standpoint, the percentage of surplus?
I do not have.
I didn't mean to hit you.
Although what I can tell you is that our percentage of surplus won't look more spectacular. Well, actually, it will next year, because next year is the year we're supposed to be ramping up our cash reserve, because we aren't spending as much money on our bond aspect of it. So for the next 2 years, our numbers are going to be weird, because we have those lower bond payments, but we're having a chunk of those dollars are earmarked to increase cash. So to answer it is, we haven't finalized it enough to know where it's going to land, but we are going to have to earmark some of those pieces. And that actually brings up a good take note of, is that we are going to want to make sure we still have an effective and efficient way to assess how our school's financial health is, while also moving in the direction of our bond requirements.
Perfect. I mean to throw you off with that one. Sorry. Just curious.
It's a good question, and I appreciate you asking it.
So Philip, what do we do at our June meeting then? Will we see a draft budget then?
I would, as much as I am not too enthusiastic about an additional board meeting to approve budget in late June, knowing what we have coming up at the end of May and all of the bond stuff that's going with it, I would like to recommend that we potentially have a draft budget, but don't plan on final approvals in June. And maybe we actually go ahead and schedule something for late June that we would actually plan on the actual approval of the budget. If things change and Dave and Patrice are comfortable with a finalized budget in early June for our board meeting, then we could go ahead and approve it and cancel the other meeting. But Patrice, what do you think?
Good question, because so much of this is going to be happening in the next, couple of days. So, the reality is that, I've always, we've always been very efficient to get a board and, a budget in place by, in June. Whereas I don't know if OCPS does as good of a job, but I think overall it's important because we know we can always come back and amend it. That if maybe just Philip, if we just plan, to be able to have some, maybe the third week, in June, to be able to come to the table to have a vote would be good.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
Right? Let me look at my.
Because the second, I know the second week, it feels a little bit tight after everything we're going to be going through.
Yeah, that's kind of the same thing I was thinking. If we had
Yeah.
that, because that third week actually is kind of, if we like even the third Tuesday, coming into it's almost 3.5 weeks into June since Wednesday is the 1st of June. I'm just a little jumpy about pushing it into the front because we do still have school financials are due. I'm anticipating additional stuff from it. And this is something, so like I said, if we do end up having that finalized budget, we could go with it. I guess also questions for the board would be, is there anything that we said in line that you would want to have more details on, that you have, want to make sure is earmarked or called out, or are you comfortable with the high level summaries and we'll produce the usual financial numbers that actually have numbers in them for our final approval.
I'm good with that.
Same.
Maybe if we just saw the draft the week before, or, a few days before at least, for everybody's review, so we're prepared to vote. And so maybe because we did move this month's meeting back a week, we could always do the same in June and move it 1 week, which would be the 21st.
Right. I do want to just call out, it does mean that Kevin can't, probably attend because he does have his commitment the third Tuesday, unless we did it the fourth Tuesday. I just want to call that out. I don't know if it matters or not, but I want to share that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like him to be able to attend, so
Yeah.
we need to move it to the 4th.
And the thing is
Probably take the month of July off for the
I was
normal
going to
board
say,
meeting,
maybe maybe that's what we do. I don't know. Because we're going to throw in a retreat somewhere.
We're trying, yeah. So I
Oh.
think we can do that, but I think it's okay to go bi-monthly in the summer or whatnot, so. We meet more frequently and more in detail than 95% of all charter schools in the world, so. Most charter schools meet once a quarter for like 30 minutes.
So maybe cancel the June meeting and then put an ad hoc budget approval meeting when you all determine that you're ready to do that? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
You were saying
Because we do
schedule
want
for
to approve the
28th?
budget in June, correct?
Mhm.
Not July. We don't want to wait till the July meeting, correct?
No, and I would have to even look in regs if we're supposed to, have it approved in June, but I might want to suggest maybe we just move it to the fourth week, and then just skip, possibly skip a meeting in July, especially if we're going to have a retreat.
That sounds like a good fit. So
Yeah, I think
move
we had
June meeting
calendared
to
the
28th.
retreat possibly for the day of the meeting.
Oh.
So we actually were replacing the meeting with the retreat, I think, was the last thought. So that works out in a way.
I'm good with that.
I know I won't be here that day, but if somebody else can take the notes.
What's the date?
It is
I mean, I'll take them.
I think it's the 28th, isn't it?
June 28th, yeah.
Philip, the budgets have to be uploaded to OCPS by the 30th.
28th works good then.
Does that give
Yeah.
you enough time to upload, Dave? Is it an easy
Yeah,
process to upload?
Yeah, it's really quick.
Okay,
Sounds
so
like
we're
a plan.
so we would do a finalized budget review and approval June 28th. June 28th and move the meeting. Okay. Okay, anything else, Philip?
I mean, I have nothing else, but I could make up something if you really want more finance. No, I'm. good.
Oh, it's 8 o'clock. No.
Taco Tuesday, man. Yeah, Taco's waiting.
Oh, yum. Okay, Marnie, you're up. PTO update?
All right. Hi, everyone. We had a great year this year. Teacher appreciation went well. And I know a lot of families were excited to come on campus and do Chalk the Walk. So hopefully we'll do a lot more in-person events for next year. The last event that we have coming up is the last day of school. I emailed Kathy about it, and we're going to do a car line parade. As the parents come pick up their kids, just give a shout out and have some music saying thank you to all the teachers and staff that are out there helping. Yeah. And then we gave out teacher grants, $100 per teacher and $50 per teaching assistant. And we are also working with Jennifer Walker on creating a high school PTO. So I'm going to be working with her this summer and trying to get that started next school year. And yeah, we're just going to work on back to school event and Boohoo breakfast and lots of fun events coming up. And I'm hoping that maybe we can utilize the high school cafeteria for a couple events. So I'll email Patrice and everybody about some of those ideas that we came up with. But yeah, we had a great year this year, and we're hoping for a lot more in-person events for next.
Definitely
Thank you,
thank you, Marnie, as well. Like, you know, I know it's nice, it's really great to have an active PTO back after a couple years of kind of not being able to do the things that we always have enjoyed and that have made, you know, the community and the campus events so much fun. So appreciate you taking the reins and doing this for a couple years, and your leadership's been great. So I appreciate you.
And I just want to do a call out too, just to say, Marnie, and I've said this to you before, but just really also appreciate how you've been just really creative throughout this whole time, trying to figure out things that you could uniquely provide, you know, for the community. So, and by the way, food truck was a big hit again with the teachers. So I think, and the staff, so I think we just need to keep that on a rotation every May, because that's a big hit. So thank you for everything you did for them as well.
Oh, thank you.
Marnie, any luck with the treasurer? Are you still seeking a treasurer?
We have someone that's interested that's speaking to the treasurer. I'm gonna see maybe if we can divide the treasurer position and to have like 2 people work on it. If not, then I will, I guess, take the reins of treasurer to start the beginning of the school year in hopes to recruit. So we'll see.
Cross fingers.
Yeah, because I'm not a finance person, so.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. What else? Any other committee updates or?
Just excited for the graduation on Friday.
Yeah, graduation Friday. Got a big lineup. Lovely lunch. Thank you, Cindy. Shout out to Cindy. I know you're doing a lot of work on that. And Allison. Very exciting.
We're looking forward to it.
Very exciting.
just congratulations and thank you to everybody for just another fantastic year. All the things we already talked about that have been accomplished, but just, it's been a really great year. So thanks to everyone on down in the organization. This is what makes this community great. So
Great.
have a great night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Well,
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.